What up? It is your boy Gabriel back again. Different setting, different show. You might notice something a little different around here. Right now, you are watching the Why Is Conspiracy Show. And I got two of my peoples here with me. The whole crew will be with us as time goes on. But right now, I just like to go down the line. We got my man Monster in the building down the end down there. What up, Mons? Then right here to my immediate left, we got my boy Grills in the building. What's going on, Grills?
What up, Grills? Yep, what's up, brother? My man Monster.
Yo, thanks for joining me,
Monster
fellas. We are also joined by the one and only, the extraordinaire herself of everything living and loving. Hazel is in the building. She will make an appearance, I'm sure, at some point. But, ladies and gentlemen, very excited to get here with you. Just a quick little overview. What we're going to be doing here is talking that ish about the stuff that people just don't talk about all the time. Okay? We're talking conspiracy theories. We're talking UFOs. We're talking government. We're talking backstabbing entertainment things that went down. All that stuff is going to get talked about on this show right now. So without further ado, I'm going to start down the end. My boy Monster, man. Tell them why you're here, who you are, and all that good stuff, man.
Well, I'm here just to check the truth, man, and talk about, reality, because, like you said, I mean, the news is just filtered garbage and plotting to propaganda to give you a certain narrative that they want you to believe, and there's alternative truth. It's not alternative facts that people like to talk about, like fake news, but there is an alternative narrative to one that the mainstream media likes you to believe, and that's what I think we're here to discuss.
I believe that.
And also to talk about what is conspiracy.
Yeah. What is and why is, right? So, my man Grills, man, we were kind of discussing a little bit, and you were telling us, the reasons for wanting to sit in on something like this, and I thought it was a great story. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people and tell them the story, man. Let's talk about it.
Well, yeah, I've been interested in these topics for about 10 years now, and I believe that there is something else going on that the people are not aware of. From what I've seen, from what I've found out, is that there is a lot going on that people don't know about, and it affects everybody every single day of our lives. And there's like this occult world that operates right around us through symbols and signs and terms, and I believe that we are being brainwashed. And if you look at the news and if you look at advertisements, commercials, once you get hip to this stuff, you start really connecting the dots, and you start saying, wow, you start seeing how easy it is to program somebody. And to talk about what he said about the conspiracy, what is a conspiracy? Conspiracy is when people get together to plot against somebody in secrecy. Right. And that happens all the time. And, so we lump all of these unexplainable or controversial topics into, it's a conspiracy. Oh, that's a conspiracy theory. Oh, but these are very sensitive and very real, very important topics that are being swept under the rug.
Right. Right, and that's kind of like why we want to talk about it, just so at least we know we did our part in trying to enlighten people, right? And just, look at it from this way, not the way they told you to look at it type of deal, And I think that's very important, because I think you're right. There is a lot of brainwashing that goes on, and, people are, even look at entertainment and how they're force-fed a certain sound and look, and look at what sells now. You know what I mean?
Even if you go back to, what I was saying earlier about the origin of the actual term conspiracy theory itself.
Right.
I mean, the actual origin of it is the CIA putting it into the lexicon to discredit people who were talking about things that were actually legitimate. I mean, some people joke about, like, the National Enquirer and things like this and crazy stories that were in there, but you know what? Sometimes they were true. But they mixed it in with, like, outrageous, six-headed monster stories that completely discredited these things, so that when it, something actually real was in there, nobody actually believed it. And then that morphed into the media as it grew in the 70s and then the 80s into the machine that it is now, that can just influence people on a daily basis. Because people don't really believe anything that they don't see on TV anymore.
No, it's true. Or, YouTube or Google. If they haven't read it on Google, it's probably not true. That's the way they look at it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So Grills, let me ask you, man. Let's just say it like this. Like the name of the show, right? Why is conspiracy? If I asked you, like, why do you think there are conspiracies? What is everybody conspiring about? What is it?
Well, I think that there's a lot more to us humans than what we were told about. What
Okay.
we were told in school, what we were told by our parents, and what we get from television, on the news. They're not going to tell us, they're not going to tell us what's going on behind the scenes, and why would they, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there is an agenda, and I think there's a small group of people that have interest in controlling the world. There's like specific families that own like 90% of everything. So,
And that's not a joke. That's actually really backed up by actual statistics. And I mean, not to bring politics into this discussion, but that's sort of the whole platform that Bernie Sanders is running on. To take these people down. I mean, not that it's really going to happen, because when you own 90% of the world, you pretty much dictate what's actually going to happen.
Right.
To be honest about it.
Right. Because, like, the people who just don't really give much thought to anything other than what's placed in front of them. Life is in front of them. They got to earn. They're getting in line with everybody else, working a 9 to 5, paying the bills. Those type of people tend to just go, when they hear conspiracy theory and all that, they just kind of throw it out the window. They're just like, conspiracy theory.
Right.
Where's the conspiracy? I got to pay my bills. I'm going to work right now. Like, what are you talking about?
Right. But so that bothers me. Well, not bothers me, but that shows me that there's a lack of care and there's a lack of understanding for the implications. Because if somebody was to say that, in Nazi Germany, when people were saying, listen, these people are being, there's a genocide going on, oh, that's just that genocide theory stuff. No, genocides happen. People do get there is mass murders. People do get killed.
Right.
So conspiracies do happen. So it's just, it like he said, it's been a way that somebody specifically put this term together to discredit people coming forward talking about this.
I feel like, also like what you just said about people going to work and not, having to just live their life. That's also a tool in their toolbox
In the control.
of suppression.
Sure.
Sure. There's professors out there that have labeled it economic slavery. That moved away from traditional ideas of slavery, of servitude to people, to the fact that you're servitude to a bank, to a corporation that you owe money to for your entire life, whether it be a mortgage, a car payment, whatever. People are too scared. They're like, I have to go to work. I can't go out and protest. I can't be against this. I can't have my own ideas about something because my coworkers don't like it, or I feel like it's actually just another tool in the toolbox of the elite to suppress us, really.
For everybody watching with the short attention spans out there, I think you're gonna end up loving this show because I'm so sporadic in my thought process, it's unreal. So I'm gonna have these guys talk about a whole gamut of things in a short amount of time. So I think you guys will like it. But here's my theory, bros. This is my theory right here. All right, and this is just today's theory. I might have a different one tomorrow, okay? But I really think all conspiracies are geared around population control. And I'll tell you why. I just did a quick little search the other day, right? And I said, all right, people born in 2018, right? And then I wanted to just know, in general, how many babies were there in 2018. It was really innocent search that I was doing on the internet. And I was talking with my wife about some random thing, and I was like, I wonder how many people were born on my birthday. And so that's what happened,
Okay.
And it ended up turning into,
That's an interesting search.
how many people were born in 2018. And as I'm scrolling down the Google search result, right, this thing comes up and it's like people versus 2018 versus 2019. And then it says something like surplus. So I clicked on it and it was like the Earth has 200 and something thousand new inhabitants that are human this year over last year. So we didn't die as much as we were born, right? So every year the Earth is gaining another 250,000 of us, right? Because we do die. There's a bunch born and stuff. So the idea in the Matrix was that we're a cancer for this earth, right?
It really started to multiply when we discovered oil.
We're a cancer to the earth. If you just look at it like that, right? That's where I think a lot of the conspiracies come in, because it's almost like population control. Because if it was to go any further, imagine all those people didn't die from some crazy thing that was in the food and this and that, and they didn't die in the plane crash, and they, all these random earthquakes that happened, and all these people died and this and that. If that didn't happen, we would have had another 500 or 600,000 more people. So the point is that this place is going to get overgrown. The Earth's surface area doesn't get bigger. We either got to live underwater, siphon water out, create more land space.
See, that's the one thing that I think has been. That's what they're telling us, because that is the exact agenda right there. And I'm glad you brought that up. I'm very glad you brought that up, because I think that's exactly what we're dealing with. Is there is a population control, but it's a population stabilization. There's something called Agenda 21 that people really need to start looking at. It's a plan from the United Nations. It's a plan for the 21st century, and they're calling it sustainable development.
Say it with your chest, bro. Make sure they're hearing you.
And people really need to start looking at this stuff, because the agenda is supposedly to depopulate the entire planet by the year 2029. And supposedly, a lot of people on the inside have known this for years and said nothing, right? So, I'm saying this because I think that there is something to it, and there's a lot of people that have been talking about this now. Who are these people that are running this country? Who are the people that are running this planet? How do we know these are good people, right? How do we know? Why do we put so much trust into people that we don't know, right? And I think the reason why is because most people in America are not bad people. I think that they're also not criminally minded. So they're not able to detect real criminals. They think they have their own idea of what a criminal looks like, never realizing that there's somebody else behind the scenes of the places you trusted the most that's plotting our demise. And this agenda has been spoke about in so many different ways. The New World Order, the dawn of the new day, right? The sun. So many corporations and places have logos with the sun rising.
Yeah.
What is with the sun? Why are they using the sun so much? Is it because this has connections to Jesus? Do they know something about the Bible and Jesus that we don't know? Is this because the sun is our risen Savior, right? There's a man named Jordan Maxwell. He talks a lot about this, right? Amazing work. People need to look at Jordan Maxwell and his work, because when you think about religion and how it ties into the politics, and how the politics of the religion has been used against the people, not for the people, but against it, to divide the people. We should all be connecting together to figure out what God is, and what our spirits are, and if we have spirits, and where do we go when we die. Like, we together as the people should be talking about that. We don't need to go to church to have somebody connect you to God, because I've never been in a church and felt connected to God, but I have felt connected to whatever created me. I felt connected to that.
If there is a creator, I mean, depending on what you believe, and I happen to believe that there is some sort of creator out there, it doesn't exist just in a singular building. It exists all of the universe, all of the planet Earth. And I believe that the elites, just to bring it back, is that they know the secret of this. That whatever that may be, and I'm not pretending that I know what that is, but that's what they're guarding. And, and we could go all the way back to like the, Annunaki and all that kind of stuff.
What the hell is that?
The Annunaki.
I'm with y'all. I'm with the people. I'm watching. I'm like, I'm gonna let that one slide though.
Well, I mean, start with the Sumerian tablets. That's where, that's where all this begins at, which is the oldest known cuneiform tablets known to man. There may be others out there that are older, but that's the current oldest known. The thing about all this stuff is that a lot of this is deciphered by the Rosetta Stone, which also goes back to deciphering the hieroglyphics. And my personal theory about some of this stuff is that maybe the Rosetta Stone is fake and that it doesn't actually decipher what the Sumerian tablets say per se, because you can visually see what some of the representations are, but there's disputes over what the language is amongst the tablets. Zechariah Sitchin studied them, and he believed that the beginning of the tablets basically said that they came here and they created us to mine gold. Now, what does that mean? I mean, other people dispute that that's what it says, but once again, their dispute is based off of the Rosetta Stone deciphering all of these things.
All right, so
which could be a conspiracy in itself.
Right. Pause right there, though, and that's a great point, because like we all talk about, like he was talking about. He looked at me and he said, Jesus is that guy, right? He's the one, and I nodded, yeah. But the truth is that
what I was saying is that there's a connection from the Son to Jesus.
I get it. But I'm just saying, in a general sense, people hear the gods and Jesus and all that, they think Bible, right? They think of it in a biblical term. For me, I think more on the level of, I do think that something like put us here. You know what I'm saying? I do believe that story. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the story in the Bible, Genesis and all that, right? But it's told with, like, I feel like a veil on it. You know what I mean?
So.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it is the true story, but like
there is something in there.
It's coded.
I think it's coded.
Yeah, I think
it's coded.
I think Genesis is coded, bro.
And what's interesting is that what he talks about with the Annunaki, this, as far as I know, the same.
Well, I think it goes back to that.
The same story that he just told about the Annunaki coming here to have the people mine gold is the same story that the African people
tell.
Yes, this is the ancient African knowledge now, but they called them the Chitauli.
Okay.
And the Chitauli were the serpent people, right?
See?
And
see what I'm saying?
So the first time you start to hear about these things, you're like, that's not even possible. And
right.
Like that's what I thought when I first heard about that. I heard that's not even possible. I believe that there's an Illuminati, secret societies, and all this. I believe that that could be real, and all this other stuff. But that's a little out there. But I think once you are in the right state of mind, I think that we have some help here. Mm-hmm. Remember in Super Mario Brothers where he had a little, he had some help, mm-hmm. where he could grow and he could, now he's much bigger, yeah. Right? So I think we have some help here. Mm. And I think when you use the help, it opens up your mind, it opens up your consciousness, it opens you up to who you really are. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's happened to me, and I think it's happened to a lot of other people. And, there is a whole other world out there that's going on around us of all types of stuff that like people can tap into.
Well, one of the problems is that people are locked into this sort of idea about what the Bible says about this 5,000 years and this, that, and the third, but there's obviously evidence of ancient civilizations that existed outside of those parameters, and like you were saying about serpent gods all over the entire world. I mean, the Aztecs and the Mayans and the Asians and the Chinese, and they all have these like dragons, different things that are all related to each other. And if you look at their temples and stuff, they're very similar to each other. I mean, it's and this busts the whole idea of like I was saying about people locked into that idea of the Bible story. I believe that there's elements of the Bible that were created from all these other ancient civilization stories, like the flood and all that kind of stuff. I mean, but we could probably.
I believe that the flood happened, though. Just FYI, side note.
Me too.
I believe the flood happened. Here's the thing, for me,
I do too.
I tend to disregard, and he spoke about one earlier about 2029. I tend to disregard the end of the world dates now, because I'm only 43, and I've lived probably through, I don't know, 5 different dates where everything I was supposed to just vanish. You know what I mean?
You hear a lot of dates and they pass by and you're still here.
Yeah.
Right?
Like the Mayan one, and even go down to Y2K.
That was another one.
My life was supposed to be turned upside down. 2012 was the Mayan life.
But hang on a second, though. Let's back up though,
what?
Because I mean, so maybe that's what I mean about like misinterpreting all these things. So originally the idea was that, oh my God, the calendar ends, so that must mean that everything ends. But it doesn't end; it just starts over again.
Right.
Because
and that, I'm just saying, I disregard those predictions now, to not, in the sense of, I'm not worried about, like, I'm gonna open up, my door that day and I'm gonna drop dead because that date came.
But let me
I changed my expectation for those dates now. I believe something is happening probably on those dates, but not the end, like the way we think of it, like, it's all black, fade to black.
Some things have changed pretty dramatically since 2012, though.
We can talk about polar caps.
Well, what I was talking about before is something, like I said, everybody needs to look at Agenda 21. This is very serious.
I agree with
This
that.
is the United Nations now telling us that by a specific year, they have a certain agenda that they want to change the entire world.
So we're 9 years
And
away.
you can read that right on their website, also.
Now,
Right on there.
if this was the agenda, and then there was no information whatsoever about secret societies and the New World Order and one world government, then most people wouldn't have anything to say. Really, it comes across very economically friendly, right? And we're going to save the environment, environmental friendly, right? We need better. We have new currency, right? So I think, but stuff that people were talking about for 50 years about a one world government, a new world order. And this United Nations plan for Agenda 21, it's right there. It's not even a conspiracy. It's right there. They're putting it right there in front of us. And I think because we have so much entertainment and sports and WrestleMania, and we have and music, and we have
Just
Disney
Instagram,
World,
Snapchat.
Instagram. We have so many distractions that people
Right
are
in the
not,
circus.
and people die every day, and things happen. Just our favorite celebrities die, and we have so many things happen to us. We get traumatized at such a young age. So many of us, for so many different reasons, that it's hard for us to invest into the rest of the world because we're so focused on at home, our own problems.
I do.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's an interesting
that's
perspective.
actually,
it's very interesting
that's
perspective.
very
So
true.
let's do this before we get like too carried away. Let's just summarize a little bit.
It's like that.
Before while we're sitting here, let's try to summarize what we've talked about, and maybe we can try to start molding our next shows to come and give the people something to want to really chant for and want. So, if I was to summarize my thoughts with this whole thing, as I sit here with you guys, I'm thinking I'm coming from a place of I don't believe everything I see, right? I certainly believe that there's truth said in jest a lot of times, and I do believe that we've been told the story that we're all searching for. We just don't believe it or don't know how to read it. What I was saying about Genesis, how I believe the real story is in there. It's just coded. It's it's not literal. You can't read that literally. It's different. You know what I mean? And we could really dive into that for an episode if you guys wanted to. But, but things like that. So I'm coming from that perspective. I'm coming from the perspective. I believe strongly that a lot of things are done to us by this government, by this world for population control reasons. I think that's a backbone of a lot of my stances. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm coming from. So, Mons, I see you.
I think a good surmise of it is that
For you, from your point of view.
From my point of view, a good surmise of what we've been talking about here basically is that ancient civilizations and other things existed outside of the parameters of what we're told as an official story, which leads to the creation of the conspiracy and the molding of ideas of the people now, and there's definitely something different going on, and people need to start researching that. As my brethren here said, the Agenda 21, which is a very good place to start, because once you start there and apply what you may have learned about other things to what that actually says, and you start thinking about what would have to happen to accomplish that, then you're going to start understanding what it is that we're talking about.
Yes.
And that's a good surmise of what, we've been saying here, is that go do the research for yourself. Go look up what the Sumerian tablets are. Go look up what Agenda 21 is. You know, go look up how many families actually own everything in the entire world. Look at the graphs. I mean, it's insane. It'll blow your mind. I mean, you have to start by doing the research yourself. Because once you hear these things and you dismiss them instantly, you're not doing yourself any favors, because they're going to continue to put their thumb down on your head.
I think that's exactly right there, man.
What's your perspective? Go stay with your chest. Make sure they hear you on
No,
that.
it's, well,
What's from your point of view? What would you summarize your thought?
no, I agree 100%, and I think that I just don't think the people have any idea what's really going on, and I think it's time for us to start asking a lot more questions and to start, you know, these doctors, lawyers, and people in positions of power. We can't just trust people just because they pop up when they're there. You know, trust is earned, and I feel like, you know, from what we've been seeing, you know, there is so many things going on that the people are not, I feel like, being hip to, but it's right there in your face. So if you weren't meant to know, it wouldn't be right in your face. So somebody wants people to know what they're doing to us, but I think that's how they are able to get over on us on a karmic sense, because if they tell us what they're doing to us and we don't do anything, then they're like, shame on you. That's a double cross on you. You get it doubled now. You know what I mean? Like, you get what you deserve. Because these people, you know, anytime somebody comes and speaks out about this, you know, stuff, usually they're from the military or they're part of some type of operation or secret organization.
Some covert
And,
mission.
you know, the FBI, and so, you know, police officers have come forward talking about stuff that people, so there's a lot that people, you know, I'm not the person to say everybody's name specifically, because they're all out there. Everybody just didn't know. The people that are doing this, they're right there in front. A lot of these people are right there in front of us. They're right there slapping us all in the face.
Yeah,
And
pay attention.
what's going on right now with the whole political game with Donald Trump is, a lot of people think that Donald Trump's here to save us. A lot of people think Donald Trump's here, you know, here to kill us, whatever. What I believe is that nobody's a president by accident. Nobody's a president unless they're chosen. I believe the presidents are chosen.
Absolutely.
Because a poll is a consensus. Do you like vanilla ice cream or chocolate ice cream? Because we're going with chocolate this time. They just want to see where the people's minds are at.
Right.
And I've been hearing about, they've been trying to divide the people up for a long time. Well, I can't see a better time than now, where it seems like they've done it. So
they've succeeded.
no, we can't. No, because that's got to end. Because listen, you could like the president, you could love the president, you hate the president, but we need to stick together. We cannot be fighting. Because I highly doubt that the Democrats and the Republicans are at war with each other. Once the cameras are off, they're out eating dinner with each other, sleeping with each other, and we're dumbasses.
Yeah.
People fighting each other, family. People are deleting don't want to talk to each other. All over these people. Who are these people really? And the whole thing with the Republican, Democrat, left wing and right wing, right? These are two wings on the same eagle. Why are they using the eagle? You see that the Nazis used the eagle, right? Why are these people using, what does the eagle have to do with anything? And you realize it symbolizes the sun. What is the sun? The sun is the most adorned object of all time. These people are all about energy and stealing energy. And it's all in the movies. And you watch so many movies, they show you people in political power, corruption. And they're screwing the people. Oh, tell the people, is there something to happen? And then the news will obviously have something completely different than what the movie's showing you going on. They're telling you what they're doing, you know? So people need to get hip to it, and we got to stick together. Because if we can stick together, we can make the change.
Well, that's the thing, too. They love to...
Divide and conquer.
Well, they love to also use their symbols to foreshadow. I don't know why, but that's something throughout history that they've gotten a hard on doing. And it's actually foreshadowing, and it's also a way to communicate secretly amongst their members.
That's right. That's what I've been told as well.
You know,
That's what I think too.
It's all in the symbols, and people don't even realize that some of the symbols, like, for example, FedEx. Have you ever noticed the arrow?
Yeah.
I mean, just simple little things like that. Manipulation in symbols. I mean, take a look at like a lot of medical symbols or you know, different business organizations. They're all some variation of the Freemasons logo or other traditional secret society group symbols that they've manipulated into corporate logos.
Freemason's an interesting topic all itself. That, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I, for some reason, always thought Freemason was developed and born here. But it
No,
wasn't.
this goes back, man. This goes back to like the Knights Templars and
Right.
To, like, England and all that, like, that side of the pond, that's all originated with.
It originates
I had no
from the
idea about that.
Crusades, from when the Muslims were fighting the Christians during the
I didn't
Crusades.
never realize that the Freemasons wasn't like an American thing that started when, like, way back when we first took the land. You know what I mean? That's what I thought, but it's not that. This is something that's existed before the United States.
I think that's what the Illuminati is. It's not just one group. It's not just one thing. I think it's just an organized network. I've said this before. I did a podcast with True Seeker. People got to check him out, True Seeker. But he talks a lot. He has a podcast. He talks a lot about. He interviews a lot of people that talk about this type of stuff. So there is a lot of information on this stuff. There's a lot of credible people that have, have either researched it or have been a part of it in some way. I think this whole thing with because I've always loved music. So how's Hollywood's connection with it? Well, I think Hollywood plays a big role in it because, in Hollywood they always walk on the red carpet, right? And I think that symbolizes they're walking on the blood of the people. And there is something weird going on in Hollywood with this whole concept of selling your soul to the devil. Why are they? What people? There's you'll get fans that listen and they'll say, "Oh, they win that. Oh, that's not real. That's not right." But why are so many of the celebrities themselves saying they've sold their souls? Why are so many of them miserable? You have all the money in the world and you're miserable. You're on drugs. You're all messed up. It doesn't make sense.
Overdosing.
What is going on in Hollywood that is causing these celebrities to bug out so much? I think they're being controlled and manipulated because once you sign a contract and once you do, I think there is something to selling your soul. I think that what he's talking about with Annunaki and we're talking about usurping people, aliens, ancient aliens, I think they're still here today.
Great show, by the way.
I think they're still here today, and I think that when you sell your soul to the devil, I think you're selling your soul to evil. And what's evil here are these things that are here. These Anunnaki, gray beings, reptilian beings, whatever you want to call them, demons, the jinn, spirit, whatever you want to call them, they're here.
Yeah.
They're real and they're here.
How much credence do you put into the whole monster? What's the word when something's spelled the same? When you spell something backwards and forwards, it spells something different. There's a name for that. But like we talked about before,
Anagram.
Where like something is spelled some way, like God and his dog backwards, evil is live or live, however you want to look at it, right? What do you think? How much credence?
Well, words have. See, that's okay. So now you hit on something totally.
Yeah, I told you I'm about that life.
All right, so this is something that people completely dismiss. Words have meanings, and words are powerful a lot more than what people think, because that's what casting a spell is. It's spoken words that are putting a curse on you. But curse words, the whole idea behind the definition of that is that you're putting a curse on somebody by speaking those words, like fuck or shit or any of these words. That's the whole idea behind calling it a curse word.
What's interesting is that there's a movie called, I love that you said that because there's a movie called Brave New World, right? And it talks about, the movie is about in the future, right? And this new world, this global government, and the people are manufactured in like these laboratories, and they're creating babies. And
for slavery or for battery, like Matrix.
They're part of a civilization. They're highly controlled.
Okay.
Check out it's called Brave New World. Check that out. But in the movie, the word mother is a curse word. And when the one kid said the word mother, they said language or precision of language, right? I thought that was very interesting. And when I saw that, I said, how do we know that the curse words we have today are really bad words? How can a word be bad?
Right.
How can a word be bad, right? Like that concept, what he's saying is absolutely correct. Words, that's why what he was talking about, cursive, right? You write in cursive because they're words are curses, right? Spell, you're spelling bee, well, it's a spell, you're casting a spell. So he's right, there's so many words that are used, and this is why I said Jordan Maxwell, he talks about this as well. How the courts use these words, they speak in legalese.
That's exactly what I was going to say next, is that, the reason why they desensitize you to these things is that so people speak them over and over again to continually curse people, to continually suppress you, but also the dual meaning behind a lot of these things has to do with the law of the land and admiral law, which people don't really understand either, which a lot of these things are meant to confuse, like bank of a river and bank of bank, and all these things are related to each other, but the water has been muddied, so people don't know what they're speaking, so they continue to curse, and it's another tool in the toolbox of suppression that just continues to drag society down and keeps a wet blanket over you, so to speak.
So let me ask you.
They don't want people thinking for themselves and being creative
why?
and not going to work and just being willy-nilly. And, you know, you don't have to have a 9-to-5 job to survive in the world. There's plenty of people that have proved that, but they don't want that.
Oh, yeah, no. But why? The question is always going to come out.
Because it goes back to how the conversation started before, that they're the keepers of the knowledge of
the original story.
Or the original story and what. Because here's the thing.
But why though? Because
so have you? All right. The movie Prometheus kind of touched on this.
Huh?
The movie Prometheus touched on this sort of
idea. I watched it, but
where mankind spent all this money and resources to build this spaceship and go, you know, find the original creator, and then they found the creator, and guess what happened? Killed him instantly. The creator killed him instantly. Like, nobody's to say
like the guys
that, you know what I mean, when they come back, that he's not going to wipe us out because he's not going to like what happened.
I think that's what it is. I think it's a spiritual war. I think that this is something that's bigger than we ever thought. It's bigger that we can, you know, the reason why is I think that there's a lot more to us than what we were told. I think we're a lot more important than we think. And, you know, even just something like dreaming. How do we know that we're not really going somewhere when we dream? How do we know that they didn't lie to us about dreams? They told us it's just your brain, right? Your brain working when you sleep. But how do we know these dreams feel real? How do we know that these dreams are not really happening? How do we know that we're not like multi-dimensional beings? You know what I mean?
Would you
Yes.
how this is just a personal preference, but how upset or how happy would you be to be told it's really like how the Matrix said?
Well, the Matrix, I think, is a huge metaphor for what's actually going on to us. And I think what is we don't live in the land is called America, right?
But would you be mad or would you be happy?
If it wasn't true, I'd be happy. If
it
all
was
there
all
was
simulation.
Yeah. If this was all simulation, would you be happy or sad that you figured it out and that it took you this long and everything at however old you are right now took you all the way to now to realize?
I'm not a believer in the simulation theory, so I'm not sure how to answer that question.
I mean, the whole thing with the simulation is it's possible.
I believe it's possible, but
I personally would be pissed if I found out tomorrow that this was a simulation.
I think I would be
I
too.
wanted this whole time.
I think
you know
I
what I'm
would
saying?
be also.
Even if it was, it's not like a simulation like you would think. More like a video game, right? But what I think is going on is, as far as the Matrix is concerned, Gabriel, I think what it is we live on America, the land, right? So we call each other Americans, but by law, we are United States citizens. That's what they don't want me to go. Now I got it. But by law, we're United States citizens. So nobody's American by law. You're a United States citizen. So from what I've been told, and from what I've seen, what I've learned, is that there is something to this United States company, United States corporation, and that when you're born, you get your birth certificate, and they get your name in all capital letters, and that they create the corporate entity you when you're born. So
your social.
And these numbers and the numbers on your birth certificate is a security on the stock exchange. I never knew this. I didn't know anything about Uniform Commercial Code, so I started looking all this stuff up. And I'm like, wow, this stuff is real.
That's the origin.
I'm on the stock market. Like, what is this?
That's the origin.
Who are these people? Who own our bodies?
That's the origin of the term worth your weight in gold. Because the determination of your weight in gold is the weight of what you were born at. So that's why it's recorded on your birth certificate.
10.1, baby.
So that's what their borrowing power is versus your name once you're born. parents don't. They're the guardians of their children, but the state is
So
responsible.
you just
for
went through
children.
this, girls. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Right?
Yes,
Congratulations.
thank you.
So in this process, have you noticed some things that you were like, oh, yeah, I know why they're doing that?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it all starts with all the shots and the vaccinations. Listen, I'm not I'm not anti-vaccine, and I'm not pro-vaccine.
Okay.
I'm pro-knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm pro my daughter surviving the best life that she can.
Sure.
So I'm not going to worry. I don't care if you're pro this or anti that. If I think that there's something shady going on and I don't know you, we don't really know for sure what they're putting in these shots that they're giving our kids.
Right.
We don't know for sure. You just accept.
It's a scary thing, man.
It's very scary.
I don't
And
have
the
to-
problem is every time I question anybody, I'm just asking. I'm not telling them like I know better than them. I'm asking questions. I always say, I'll tell my girl the same thing. I always tell people, don't sign for anything unless you read it first, right? They don't like that. Apparently, they don't like that. And I think that we have all possibly signed for stuff, whether it's on our phone. You know how all this stuff comes up before you scroll through it.
Nobody reads that.
How do we
Nobody
know?
reads
Dude,
that.
how do we know that somebody somewhere along the line put something in all of these contracts and they got all of us? Now, if we do try to do so, we
They
can't
got
because we
you
have
from
a
birth, bro.
How
Since
did-
they gave you that. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember this game, but Ernie was going off one time, and I was laughing at him, and he was getting mad, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm not a slave monster," and I turned to him, I said, "They gave you a number, didn't they?" And he just shut right up. You remember that? I was like, but you know what? I mean, it's kind of, sooner or later, like Drills had said earlier, when you do the research, which we're imploring you to do, we're saying don't believe any of the crap that we're spewing out of our mouths.
Yeah.
Go out and look it
I'm
up for
having
yourself.
a bag. You can't listen.
Go out and look it up for yourself. That's what we're saying. When you come to the realization of these things, you start changing your opinion about some of the things that are happening in the world, and then you start realizing, like Grills has said earlier, that the both wings are on the same bird, and they just pooped right in your eye. So you know what I mean. And watch out, it's got sharp claws.
And the crazy part about
Yeah,
that, to say like that's crazy, because then you realize they need each other to fly.
That's exactly right.
That is true.
That's everybody needs each other, and
Because
we're all
listen,
in this together. And
even I
the
never
more
even thought
faster
about.
we realize that, the better off we're going to be.
I never thought about it like this before, but like they do need each other. Because like if you look at the Republicans, the black and white, just say, okay, they're more like the business people. They want to create things. They want to build things. They want to do business, big business, right? And then you look at the Democrats and you label them more like blue collar people working, right? So if the Republicans were to build stuff and do stuff, but they had nobody to work in it, they wouldn't make any money. They would have just wasted money. So
It's just a continuous
I've never even looked at it like that before, but just sitting here talking with you guys like that, it's crazy. They really do need each other.
Here's another thing that people can go look up themselves too, because this is a very big misconception out there amongst people. The Democrats and Republicans are not actually part of the United States government. They're private entities. What it is that the people that are elected, they're elected under their own name, but they just happen to belong to this organization, which is a private entity that can actually do anything that they want. And they're not regulated by the United States government. And most people think that that's actually
the whole
what
thing.
it is.
Yeah, no,
But it's not.
And it's very apparent in what they call a pardon, right? Why is it that somebody can just go, nah, my boy that's in jail right now, nah, he's going to get a presidential pardon, get him out of there, take him out, he's above all that.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Girls, what you think about all this?
No, I think the political game is very strategically set up from behind the scenes to look like the people have a say, to make it look like the
Right,
people
like you're being
are
represented.
involved. Of course, man. But when you see I've seen the fasci by the podium. So I've also, I also believe from what I've heard is that this is more of like a technocracy now, where technological key is advancement. That's the where the power really lies, is the ones who are in charge of these major corporations that are putting out the technology of the future. And I think I'm a futurist. I love the future, but I also love history, and I'm all about the present. But what's crazy is that the present is the past and the future in one moment, right? Because before I got here, that was the future. But now that I'm here, that was the past, right? So
let me bang you in the head real quick with the comment of the idea that you were just kicking right there. It's because this is something that I think about that sort of terrifies me. So with this technology revolution that we've had, I don't know how to make a computer. If they were to wipe out our ability to use the technology and have the technology on their end, think about how much they could suppress us at that point. And we're talking Hunger Games type stuff.
And you could just,
you know,
you could put the,
and that's part of the Agenda 21,
yeah.
which we're imploring you to go back and do the research.
You can
on.
make 1 million people relate right now just by going, remember the time you lost your phone. Because that's what I'm talking about.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, imagine not having any access to, imagine being shut off from technology whatsoever.
The time you lost
you
your
got
phone.
no connection
You were
to
bugging.
it. And
You were bugging when you lost your phone.
And then other people come along and they have the resources you need and they have all the technology. You are now a subspecies. I mean, I hate to put it that way, but you really are at the mercy of whatever it is that they're going to dictate that they want from you. And to be honest with you, to go back to what Grills was saying about Hollywood, let's talk about all the movies that have shown us this path.
Coded
Coded
troops.
And you know, like I said about the symbols, this is the symbol.
Well, if people want to get a basic idea of what we're talking about when we talk about secret societies, Illuminati, who are these people, how do they get down? You can watch the movies Eyes Wide Shut, Tom Cruise, by Stanley Kubrick. You can watch that, and you'll see it's a dark movie. What's up, girl? What's up, beautiful?
Hazel, relax. Hazel,
It really is a dark movie.
You know what? I did a lot of talking. Grills, man, why don't you lean up a little bit and take us home, man? Let's get out of here today. Wrap it up.
I guess the best thing I could, say right now is just to people just to do your own homework and this reality, this world is not what we thought it was, not even close. But once you start to look at it, it takes you on a journey, and it really gives you a sense of purpose in life. Because now you start to, it breaks your heart to find out that some of the people you've looked up to your whole life and people that you've seen in, whether it's movies or politicians, and when you find out that these people aren't who you thought they were, it's heartbreaking. And when you find out about religion and it's heartbreaking, it really is. But do your homework, do it for your family, because I think that this life is short, but what happens to us after lasts forever. So, I think that there's more to the spirit world than what we were told. And I want to end this by saying, a long time ago, before a telescope was invented, I'm sure somebody thought about looking up into the stars further than what they could and said, you know what? What if we could look and see the planets up out there? What if we could? And somebody said, but you can't, so don't worry about it, right? Well, I think it's the same with the afterlife. Whereas people say, we don't know what happens when you die, so worry about this life, right? No, let me tell you something. I'm pretty sure they're going to invent a machine that can figure it out or something, right? And like I said, like the Mario Brothers got help, right?
Yeah.
Mario Brothers got help, so I think we have help to help us with the spiritual side. And I think if we get more connected to our spiritual side, you'll see through the bullshit, you'll see through the nonsense, and you'll see the corruption, you'll see the symbols everywhere. And the whole thing with the Illuminati, when people get misunderstood, they don't really know what it's about. But there is an organized network of secret societies, secret clubs. They're connected to the Vatican. They're connected to Rome. They're connected to the royal family. They're connected to government agencies, right? So this is a big network. But the pyramid with the eye is actually called the chief cornerstone. And once the chief cornerstone is back on top of the pyramid, because right now it floats above it. It's on the back of the dollar bill, right? It's the chief cornerstone that the builders rejected. The Masons are the builders. So the pyramid is the chief cornerstone. And once that pyramid is back, the smaller pyramid is back on top, right? Then they have full control. That symbol will be world domination. This new world order by these people, this elite family. And it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter where you come from. This is affecting everybody. It's affecting everybody. They've sold us all out. And they got us all fighting. And if we just start looking to see who's pulling the strings, you know, they'll be out of here pretty soon. And that's what I'm trying to help do. And that's because I think it's more than just physical stuff. I think it's spiritual stuff as well. And I think that knowledge is power. Knowledge is the key. The more we know, the more we can prepare ourselves for what's coming and what's really going on. And we'll have more questions about it. And, you know, we'll have more answers, I think, as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Man, so Monster, thank you for coming out.
Thank you for having me.
Reals, it's a pleasure. You know what I'm saying? My man, Hazel, thanks for not letting one go while we were chilling. We're going to obviously do it again because I know all y'all are loving this right now. So we out of here, Finally TV. Maybe it'll be called Why is Conspiracy. Maybe Coded Truth. I don't know. We're going to think of something. No. Peace, y'all.